Um, so, Hi everyone. So I'm Mathilde Pau, and I'm a PhD student under the supervision of Sylvie Gauthier and Yves Bergeron. And today I'm going to present you my first chapter, which consisted of the use of a new approach that suggests that climate warming could increase boreal tree growth. So this study was realized in collaboration with Sylvie Gauthier, William Marchand, Raphaël Charadès, and Yves Bergeron. With a predicted rise in global temperature and a predicted increase in the frequency and intensity of drought episode, the boreal forest will be the biome most strongly affected by global warming. So the increase in temperature could have a positive effect in growth by increasing the growing season. But an increase in dry and hot conditions seems to lead to a decrease in growth because a decrease in soil moisture availability. So, what are the impacts of climate change on growth? For answer this question, we use a new approach which innovates in 3 points. The first one is the use of the site index. So it's rarely used for this type of study, but it mostly depends on site quality. It mostly depends upon site quality and on climate than to competition, and it reflects the potential productivity of forest stand. Second point, we use climate normals that correspond to the growth period of each stem. And finally, we use site type because it's been proved that tree growth is more limited by climate change in dry areas. So our objective was to firstly assess the influence of temperature, precipitation, and drought on tree age growth for black spruce and jack pine. Second objectives were to assess whether surfacial deposit has the potential to modulate climate growth association, and finally to forecast the trends in the tree age growth across the coniferous forest until 2100. For the study area, to include a wide range of climatic and site conditions, we use data sampled by the Direction des Inventaires Forestiers from black spruce and jack pine stands across the entire southern Quebec. So we can see with this map that future climate conditions in boreal forest will be closer to current climate conditions in the southern Quebec. Okay, so for the variables, we use the height at 30 years to represent the site index. We also use juvenile suppression and age for control variables. For our climate variables, we use temperature, precipitation, drought code, and climate moisture index. For all these climate variables, we use the software Biosim to calculate them. So maybe just I can define drought code and climate moisture index. So drought code indicates the moisture content in deep, compact, organic in forest soils, and climate moisture index corresponds to the potential loss of water vapor from a landscape covered by vegetation. So it's more draw in soils and draw in the atmosphere. And for each of our climate variables, we calculate normals corresponding to the growth periods of each thing. So let me explain this. So if, for example, a tree is 30 years old in 2000, we use the 1971 2000 normals. If it's 30 years old in I don't see in 1950, we use the 1950 normals, and this for each tree. For the site types, we classify our site based on their superficial deposit texture, their stoniness, their drainage, and their morphology. For the black spruce, we have 4 types: sandy, rocky, mesic, and subiduc. And for black pine, we only have 2 because there was not enough tree for the black pine, so we regroup sandy and rocky site types, and we regroup mesic and subiduc site types. For our statistical analysis, we use linear mixed models with a random effect on sampling plots. We select the best models for each species, so for black spruce and for black pine, with the high CC. And we also measure predictive power estimation with 10 repeated 10-fold cross-validation. Based on that, we calculate the root mean square error and the S-square conditional and the S-square marginal. So the S-square conditional is the classic S-square for fixed effect, and the S-square marginal is the S-square for fixed and random effect. We then project gains and or decline in height growth, assuming that the study area, so the boreal forest, was entirely covered by each species. So if it's entirely covered with black spruce and entirely covered with jack pine. And for that, we use 3 future periods: the 2011, 2040, the 2041, 2070, and finally the 2071, 2100, and 2 RCP, the 4.5 and the 8.5. For the results, for the black spruce, the best model was this one. So let's focus firstly on the double interaction with temperature and broad code. So if we look at this graph that represents the effect of temperature on 8 at 30 years, for black spruce using 3 broad code normals, so wet broad code in blue, median broad code, and dry broad code, we can see that the temperatures has a positive effect on height growth, but varies according to the broad code. And the impact of temperature on height growth is stronger in wet condition than in dry condition. If we look at the effect of draw on 8 at 30 years for this time 3 temperature normals, so cold, medium, and warm, we can see that draw has a positive influence on height growth if the temperature is cold or average, but it has no influence on growth when the temperature is warm. If we look at the effect of site types on the growth, we can see that 8 at 30 is also influenced by different site types, so it's better on mesic and sandy site than on rocky and subiduc site. If we look now on the projected the projection for the black spruce, we can see that we can observe a gradual increase in age varying from 0 to 75% until the period, the 2071 2100 period, sorry. So for the RCP 4.5 and RCP 8.5. We can see also that the increase is most evident in the center of the Royal Forest of Quebec, here. Now, if we look at the result for the drag pine, the best model for the drag pine was this one. So let's focus on the global interaction with temperature and site type. So with this graph, we can look at the effect of temperature on habitat searches according to different site types, so the sandy rocky site type and the mesic subhedric site types. So we can see that the habitat searches increase with temperature for the both site types, but more strongly for the mesic subhedric site than for the sandy rocky site. If we look now at the effect of the climate moisture index on the growth for the drag pine, we see that the GROW has a negative, the climate moisture index has a negative effect on the habitat searches. So it's the climate moisture index is inversed in comparison for the broad code. So the wetter the climate, the slower the tree growth. And if we look for the drag pine to the projection, we can see that we also observe a gradual increase until our last future period, so the 2071-2100 period, and it's stronger than for the back plus. The increase varying from 0 to 80–60% in this case. And in the first period, so the 2011-2040, we can also see in some areas in eastern and western region that there is a decrease up to 11%. So for this period. Finally, if we maybe compare our new approach using cumulative age growth with the more classical methods that choose annual gradual growth. So our methods allow us to see the long-term climate change effects, whereas the annual gradual growth allows us to see the effect of interannual variation in climate. With our approach, we can see average effect of global warming, whereas in the more classical approach, we can see effects of climate extreme. We use raw and non-transformed data, whereas with gradual data, this is standardized data with detrending methods. And finally, with our method, we compare individuals over the same life period, so the same age. For us, it's 30 years. Whereas with the annual gradual growth, the individuals I compare over the same time period, so the same years. And usually the age, the effect of the age is removed with detrending methods. So to conclude, the temperature has a positive effect for both species in the absence of other disturbance, such as fire, which I will look, which I'm doing currently with my chapter 2. But its effects, because the temperature on the growth varies according to GROW for black spruce and according to site types for drag pine. And finally, age growth as an interactive measure of productivity might be a better indicator of the future growth than other measures. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much. Martin may have some questions, maybe 1 or 2 questions would be great. That was a great presentation, Mathieu. Thank you. Martin, did you want to ask a question or do you want to chat?
I don't know if how I can see the chat.
Oh, if it is through chat, I can read it out for you.
Okay, yes, thank you, Raphael, because I don't know where with the chairman, I don't know.
I think Martin Girardin could speak because we have some time. Moreover, we have the break after. So.
Okay, I think it's working. Mathilde, I have a lot of statistical questions for you.
Okay.
The first thing I see is that you assume that the relationship between growth and climate is linear, which I think is problematic, knowing that it's not linear, that there's like a point where it reaches a maximum and then growth will decrease afterward. So that is, I think, one important aspect that you need to consider. The second aspect is the not accounting for the spatial autocorrelation in your data. I think you've correlated, you took the whole data set without accounting that you have some pseudo replication in your data. So that might decrease it might bring you to be overly confident in your results. The third thing, I'm not sure you didn't mention, but is it like for temperature, did you use the annual mean temperature or did you break it down by season?
No, I use the annual mean temperature.
So that is one big critique you'll receive when you submit your papers, that tree growth does not respond to annual temperature, but responds to seasonal temperatures.
Okay.
And then the other question is that you should also include a variable for radiation, because you included the latitudinal gradient in your analysis. And what's going to happen is that your model will capture the effect of annual temperature as a predictive variable, but it's rather the amount of radiation that is a limiting factor. So some variables are collinear with your variables, but the variable you took is not the causal effect, it's just collinear like that. So that's why we use process-based model, like in Lynn's work and my work with Stanley and many others, that we include variables that are more reflecting the processes leading to tree growth with the non-linear effects and so on. So that's why I see a lot of variables that are not really that are counterintuitive, like the negative impact of the effect of drought on growth, which is the opposite of what we normally report on. So that's probably just something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Can you just repeat the last point, because I just start.
The thing about the use of process-based models, or
Yes.
Yeah, because normally if you in process-based model, we include variables and the relationships that are more realistic, sort of like having non-linear relationships with climate, and also including variables like radiations. Because in your model, I see that the relationship between drought and growth is the other way around. We normally expect that tree growth decreases with increasing drought, whereas you see the opposite in your paper. You see that tree growth increases with drought. So that's probably because in your model, drought is just capturing an effect that you don't really have with other variables that should be included in your model, like seasonal temperature changes or so on, because normally you should include seasonal temperature, not mean annual temperature in your models, and some linear effect, and also having radiations, solar radiation, the amount of radiation that you have for each location.
Okay.
And that you have that in BioSim, so you should extract radiation too.
Okay,
and you should maybe use non-linear mixed models rather than linear mixed models.
Okay.
With autocorrelation factors.
Okay.
Excellent points, Martin. We have two questions, but they're actually quite related. One is from Tungsin, and he asked, does your model consider fire disturbance or insect disturbance in the prediction process? And Adon Ali was also saying, what about the positive feedback of this growth process on wildfire? Will the boreal be more flavorable in the context of climate change?
Yes, so in this chapter, we only look at the growth. We don't look at other disturbance, so not fire and not insects. But currently, I'm working on my chapter 2, and I'm looking at the fire disturbance. So it's the next step.